The crown that was placed on the head of King Charles III at his coronation was perhaps the most special in the British monarchy, but it wasn't the original. Here's what happened to St. Edward's crown. People who only know a little about monarchies might imagine that a king or queen walks around the castle with a 5-pound crown on their head. In reality, monarchs only wear crowns at specific rare events. They don't want to minimize the impact of seeing a massive collection of diamonds, sapphires, pearls, and gold in one piece of headgear. Besides, as the late Queen Elizabeth II said, the imperial state crown is unwieldy. She only wore it once a year when addressing Parliament and had to stop doing even that. St. Edward's crown, however, is worn only once in a monarch's lifetime, at their coronation. In a BBC video from 2018, Elizabeth gets reunited with St. Edward's crown after 65 years.
Is it still as heavy? Yes, it is.
The last time she'd seen it was the first and only time she'd worn it, at her coronation in 1953. That crown, however, is a reimagining of the original. The new St. Edward's crown, worn only 6 times by 6 monarchs over its 362-year life prior to King Charles III, was crafted for Charles II in 1661. The original was melted down in 1649 following the disastrous reign of Charles I, who was executed during the English Civil War. That earlier crown is believed to have dated back to the 11th century, according to historic royal places. Under normal circumstances, anyone at all can have a look at the current 362-year-old St. Edward's crown sitting on a pillow behind glass in the Tower of London. On May 6, 2023, though, it wasn't on display there. It was being used in Charles's coronation. The Royal Collection Trust reminds visitors who have seen the crown that it is not a reproduction of the medieval design, although it does share some design elements with the original. It has 4 fleurs-de-lis, 2 arches, and 4 crosses. Looking at the current St. Edward's crown is like gazing at an altered reflection of the 11th century original. But even the crown that got tossed in a furnace in 1649 might not have been the very first crown. According to the University of Illinois, the first written mention of St. Edward's crown dates to 1220 at the coronation of Henry III, a full 150 years after Edward the Confessor, after whom the crown is named, died in 1066. Edward's crown supposedly passed to William the Conqueror, who, after crossing the English Channel from French Normandy, lived up to his moniker and became King of England the year of Edward's death. But we've only got pictures to go on for Edward and William's crown connection, specifically the Baia Tapestry, an 11th century piece of art depicting William the Conqueror's exploits. In it, William's crown sort of looks like Edward's crown, but there's no way to know for sure. The mystery deepens when we take a look at Edward the Confessor's canonization. Edward became a Catholic saint in 1161, about 400 years before King Henry VIII split from Catholicism and formed his own Christian branch, the Church of England, in 1534. That's when people started keeping track of Edward's old crown because it became a holy relic. Specifically, the crown became a second-class relic because Edward, a canonized saint, personally owned it, Treasures of the Church notes. The court jeweler takes the story from there. When Edward was canonized in 1161, monks from Westminster Abbey, the same one that stands in London to this day, got a hold of the relic for safekeeping. They claim that Edward told them to use the crown for future kings, despite Edward having died 100 years earlier. Turns out, the monks lied. The abbey was looking to attract pilgrims to visit, and knew that having a holy relic in their possession would do the trick. But since the first written record of Edward's crown comes from 1220, nearly 60 years after Edward's canonization, there's really no way to tell if the crown that the abbey held onto, and then got melted down in 1649, was Edward's at all. It's only certain that it passed to William the Conqueror. Whatever the case, any other crown besides the current St. Edward's crown remains lost to history or destroyed.